What revenge of yours hit the victim way worse than you thought it would? To the point you said, maybe I shouldn't have done that? Episode 2, drunk guy came at me on my porch. I was in college. It was welcome week. Kid was all kinds of fucked up. Tried to get him to leave, and finally he came up on my porch and swung. I ducked him and shoved him away. He was too drunk. Couldn't keep his balance and bounced his face off the curb. Blood, teeth, it was brutal. I was afraid he was really hurt, but he came to pretty quickly. He ended up getting arrested before it was all said and done. When I was either 6 or 7, I had been bullied by my neighbors on the bus. They had harassed me with toy knives, which at the time I thought were real and had all around been very disgusting with me trying to talk about sex and other things around me and trying to take away my innocence, which at the time I had no clue what they were talking about. I had had enough of it, and I had told my mother, which told their mother what had happened, and I wouldn't necessarily say they didn't deserve what had happened to them, but I was a very empathetic kid, and what happened to them had scarred me for most of my childhood. Their mother told their father their bad behavior and had beaten them quite badly. They left me alone for the remainder of my time being their neighbor, but I saw the cuts, scars and bruises that had been left on their young bodies, and how their moods had changed afterwards from bratty little kids to completely silent and somewhat oppressed. 2 days ago, actually in my football, I know, game, this one clumsy defender kept catching my ankle seconds after I would pass the ball away. So one play he was clearing the ball, and I just wanted to lay the kid out. As he was on his plant foot swinging, I hit him with my shoulder hard, and as he was falling, he grabbed me and took me down with him. I landed on his arm, and it snapped like a twig between the wrist and the elbow. I feel awful. This one wasn't really a planned revenge, but it's one I still feel guilty about whenever I think about it. When I was a kid, I was extremely easy to scare with jump scares, and I hated them. I would always enter fight or flight mode whenever something jumped out at me, and then I'd be mad as hell afterward. When my buddies caught on to this, they made it their business in life to jump out at me and scare me any chance they got. Despite my hate of being scared, I was a huge fan of Halloween, and I had a Halloween party every year either close to or on the big day. Naturally, this was the night when all my friends would do their damnedest to scare me so bad that I would bolt and run. They succeeded a few times when we were all under 9 years old. But something shifted in me the year I turned 10, and none of us knew it until it was too late. As usual, I had my big Halloween party. As usual, all my buddies were there, and as usual, one of them wanted to try and scare the pants off me. About midway through the evening, I went down the hall to use the restroom, and while I was in there, my friend, I'll call him Aaron, scampered down the hall after me and hid in a darkened doorway. I came out of the restroom, started down the hall, and Aaron jumped out at me and grabbed my arm. Ordinarily, something like this would have made me bolt like a little chicken shit, but for some reason that night, the flight side of my fight or flight got turned off. The moment he grabbed me, I whirled and punched him square in the face without even thinking about what I was doing. God, it was all pure instinct. And after impact, I realized what I'd just done and freaked out. Aaron wrenched his mask off and was clutching his face and groaning, or so I thought, and I yelled for my dad, concerned I had really hurt my friend. My dad and all my other friends came running down the hall to find out what had happened. My dad flipped on the hallway light, and what greets us? Aaron with his face covered in blood. I am instantly horrified, thinking I'd busted his nose. But as I'm spewing apologies to him, I begin to realize he's not groaning. He's laughing. He grabs me by the hand I punched him with and yells, "What are you apologizing for?" That was freaking awesome. And he yanked my hand up over my head like I was a boxing champ and starts telling everyone how cool it was of me to just haul off and slug him. If you haven't guessed, Aaron was a pretty cool kid. He thought it was great that I'd suddenly found the courage to defend myself. My dad helped get him cleaned up, though he insisted on keeping his now bloody costume on and inspected his nose. Thankfully, it wasn't actually broken, but I still feel a wave of guilt when I remember the sight of his face covered in blood and remember the feeling of my fist hitting him in the schmooze. I'll always be grateful to him for handling it so well and encouraging me for standing up for myself. But I still feel so guilty about decking him that I can't even imagine how I would feel if I had actually broken his nose. A married female coworker I was sleeping would accuse me of rape and sexual harassment when she thought her husband might find out. So, I had the letters and pictures she had been sending me anonymously sent to her husband. She ended up getting fired, and her husband tried to take her 2 kids away. He literally showed up at our workplace, threw the pictures and letters in her face, and dragged the kids away crying. High school. Oh man, this poor kid I used to work with at Wendy's, Kevin. He was a juvenile delinquent. He was a few years older than me, little bit bigger than me, had nasty tattoos on his neck, and supposedly was out of jail on work release. He tried to be a tough guy and bully me whenever we worked together. Stuff like generally talking smack unprovoked, getting real close up in my face, and that stands where you puff out your chest and pull your arms back like you're gonna swing. The most irritating was when he would walk right up in my face, then flinch like he was gonna throw a punch at me, then just laugh and say some rude crap. I got along with just about everyone at work, and he did somewhat, but we just did not fit together. One day the exchanges between us were so apparent and obviously stressed. Everyone working was talking about me fighting him. I dispelled these rumors as I wanted to keep my job, but my destiny on this day said otherwise. First was the backdoor incident. The store had a large back door with a peephole in it, and it could only be opened from the inside. There was a buzzer outside that employees would push if they wanted back in. Well, Kevin was locked outside, and his patience while awaiting his re-entry had run out. Instead of tapping the buzzer, this guy was mashing it and holding it down while everyone inside went nuts. We were all busy, and I was running to the back to grab some heavy boxes. Holding these boxes, I was going to open the back door while I walked past. I tried to push on the door, but it wouldn't open. I leaned into it, but couldn't push much more because of the boxes I was holding. I was in a hurry, so I yelled, "Get back and gonna kick the door." He did not hear me over the loud, constant buzzing. I gave that door a swift. This is spatula kick, and it opened about 3 inches, then bounced closed again. What the fuck? I kicked it again, and it opened, revealing a bashed and somewhat upset Kevin. He had been trying to look in the peephole when I kicked the door. I had just broken the crap out of his nose. Like the tip was almost touching his cheek, bright red purple, swollen eyes, broken. He was pissed. Immediately, I started apologizing and backing away from him, but he came at me like a rabid monkey. Quickly, we were surrounded by employees and separated. I was told to go up front and manage fries and to not come into the back part of the store until Kevin left to the hospital. Then the final event, less than 10 minutes later. I was working the fries, which entails grabbing a metal basket out of boiling hot oil and dumping the fresh fries into an adjacent tray. I was doing this, and everyone around me was talking about how I just broke Kevin's face. On his way leaving our store for the hospital, he decided to come right up to me again and try to instigate a fight while I was dumping some fresh fries. Kevin pulled his signature move of flinching at me like he was going to throw a punch. I retaliated by returning my own flinch with the basket I was holding. I didn't actually hit him with an incredibly hot fry basket, but I forgot about the boiling hot oil still clinging to the basket. When I flinched at him and shook the basket, tiny flaming hot drops of grease splattered his face and neck. I had just broken his nose on accident, then threw boiling hot oil on his face on accident. Instant fight. On the ground. I'm a wrestler, so his freshly broken and burned nose was just smashed and wiped across a dirty floor for a few seconds before it was broken up. He was an absolute mess. He left for the hospital. I got sent home. That was it. No charges. No questions from my manager after. No more being scheduled with Kevin. Not even any paperwork about 2 vicious assaults and fights in the same day. I felt really bad, but simultaneously kind of justified. Both incidents were honest accidents, which could have easily been avoided if he weren't such a jerk. I still felt like the outcome was worse than reasonable. My sister used to kick my ass on the regular. She had mad anger problems and would go berserk over the littlest things. One time I turned the light on while she was trying to sleep. She beat me up, and I ended up going to prom with bruises all over me. All through the years, I never hit her back. I was a super sensitive kid, and if I ever hit back, I ended up crying to my mom about how I loved my sister and hated to hurt her. After I graduated, she had calmed down a bit, but she still had issues. Coming back from a small party one night, and she is back on her old bullshit, just getting mad over something stupid and going totally crazy over it. We get home and get out of the car and say I'm driving home. She keeps saying I'm too drunk, even though I'd only had 2-3 mini beers. She grabs the back of my shirt, and I'm so pissed off at her. I turn around really fast with my fist out to hit her arm or something. She immediately lets out a blood-piercing scream and drops to the ground. Blood is spurting everywhere. She leaves a trail as she runs inside and wakes up our mom and dad. Turns out, I broke her nose pretty fucking bad. But my mom and dad kept saying it couldn't be that bad because I had done it, and that she must have really been fucking with me for me to have done something like that after all these years of her beating on me. I felt so awful. I cried and tried to say sorry, but she ended up going to the hospital. I don't feel so bad now because she purposely never paid the bill, thinking she could bully me into paying it, and she never lets it go. She always says I'm the reason her credit and stuff is bad, and that she still has collections agencies calling her over the e-bill. I ain't paying that shit. Consider it payment for the years of abuse. I had a girlfriend cheat on me, lie about it when I confronted her and gave her the chance to come clean and work through it, and stalk me after I broke up with her. We were quite young, 17, so it was all very overdramatic, but I did love her a lot and was hurt by what she did. At the same time, I was very done and not interested in reconciling. She didn't get the hint. I asked her nicely many times, then not so nicely, then demanded she fuck off. She would, for a while, but then she'd show up drunk and try and pick fights, insult me, and be sincerely hurtful. I eventually had enough, as you do. I told a couple of choice people in her school, different to mine, what she'd done. With gory details, she'd sucked off her ex in his shitty car. Thought she'd get dragged for it, and that would be that. Well, turns out she was a bitch in all other aspects of her life too. Apparently, she was loathed at school, and people jumped on this news like starving beasts on fresh meat. I had texts and IMs from people I didn't even know asking to confirm the news, which I ignored because I was really done with the whole situation by now. I eventually heard from other friends at that school that people had not let it drop, and had even stuck posters around the school with pictures of her, announcing what she'd done, offering her, services with her phone number, photoshopping bananas into her mouth, etc. It was brutal, and she had to change schools in her final year. I did feel a bit bad. If I'd known it would go that far, I might have rethought telling those people. At the same time, she hurt me badly. She refused to leave me alone despite months of chances. And the other students reacted so viciously because apparently she was a total asshole to everyone in the school, so I don't know. I sure as hell didn't expect that, though. Oh, I have one for this. My grandpa was a bit old school and gave me prison yard advice for my first week of school. He said, if anyone picks on you, just deal with them right then. Don't take it. First week of kindergarten, a grade 1 kid was pushing me around, not letting me go back to class. I pushed him down against the fence and kicked him in the face 3 or 4 times, splitting his nose. Almost got kicked out of school until they found out my grandpa had told me to do it. Thing is, no one messed with me after, and that guy was nice to me all the way through to graduation. Some girl hit my car in a hit and run. There was a witness to the crime, so the police were able to track her down. When I was asked if I wanted to press charges, I went for it. Turns out she had no license or insurance. She kept trying to fight the charges, but wound up getting sued by my insurance, having to pay me restitution via the court system, and 4 separate charges between all her crimes, all of which included a decent fine. She was some 18-year-old single mom. I felt super bad by the end of it. Edit. To add details, the damage wasn't significant. There was a small dent and a large scratch. It was all cosmetic damage. My deductible was small, but the total bill to my insurance was about $3,000. My car is over 10 years old and had some other scratches already. I was way more upset that someone hit me and drove off than I was about the actual damage. I wouldn't have even bothered to get it fixed if the girl hadn't driven off. My pursuing her and pressing charges was 100% fueled by revenge, and her life got pretty fucked up from it. Yeah, what she did wasn't right, but I can empathize with her being a scared 18-year-old who made a bad choice while caught up in the moment. Also, I'm not justifying her behavior because she had a kid, but it does make me feel bad for her. Being a single parent, as a woman or man, is a really expensive thing, and having a bunch of fees on top of that financial burden has got to suck. Million years ago, I worked in a large clothing store. This one girl I worked with would slap you on the back or pinch your arm or whatever, as if it was a friendly gesture. It hurt. I don't know if she was pretending to be nice, or was simply stupid, but it was very unwelcome. And I imagine I told her so, but honestly don't remember anymore. What I do remember is, one day I'm heading up the escalator, and there she is ahead of me. So, I walk up, and as I'm going past her, I give her hardest friendly slap on the back I could. I may have gone a little overboard, as she almost fell forward and definitely gasped in. Surprise, I don't think she ever came within. Arms reaching me again. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss daily stories. If you like revenge, leave your comments. See you in the next video. Goodbye.